So we're here to talk through this Japanese sums puzzle by Serkan called Double Clues. All the entries have just 2 clues in them, and one of the first things, seeing this as a 1 to 6 grid, I'll do is make a mental note of the total sums. That's as high as 21, the digits 1 through 6 add to 21, and then look across some of the clues for things that are pretty close to 21. Actually, not just pretty close, like 1 away or 2 away are also interesting rows. Like this row that has a sum of 20, it means that 1 is absent from the row, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 will appear in the row, and they're going to appear in a group where we've got 3 digits that add up to 12 and 2 digits that add up to 8. Again, across 5 digits, that's the way it's going to go. So there's no way the 8 takes the digit 4. It's going to be 2 and 6 and 3 and 5. And the 12 is going to be 4 with 2 and 6 or 3 and 5. So this is kind of a mental way you can get a sense of both what fills in the row and what digits are missing. The only other set of clues that add up to those magic numbers is this column that actually adds to 21. So this takes all 6 digits and we'll have a total of 2 black squares. And one of those black squares is going to be between the groups. So there's a way to see the 2 as a single entry, then there's a blackened cell, and then there's the remaining 5 digits come together. And so these 5 digits are going to be in the topmost 5 cells or in these next 5 cells, but these 4 are always going to be digit containing spaces. One thing that marking lets me do is look to the left and see that this 12 is going to gain at least 1 more cell there. Again, this 12 is 3 cells long for this whole row. The other thing that's letting me think about is how these 2's can work with. So a 2 can work with a 5 clue, 2 plus 3, that looks fine. A 2 cannot work with a 4 clue. And so the first step I am seeing in this grid is to recognize a 2 can't be in this cell because it's not going to be compatible with a 4, which would be the furthest right digit, furthest right sum for this whole row. And in doing that, we place the 2 exactly. We have the remaining parts of this column filled in. Every time we make progress in a column or a row, let's shift to the opposite direction. So we're going to look in this row or this row. The 4 could be here or over here. That still looks fine, but the 7 can't take this cell here because it needs to have as many 2 cells to fill that in. We just place this cell. So now let's look in the column where we just marked this. A 15 as the lowest sum needs to be at least 3 cells long. 6 plus 5 plus 4 is the maximum we can do in 3 cells, and that's exactly 15. But we can't do it in 2 cells, so we've got to take these 3 cells, leave behind 1 cell. So we're going to get this 3. We're going to get a 4, 5, 6 clue coming up here. Having marked some of these blackened cells, we actually can now force this 2 to come to the left to make its 5. One thing this black cell does is now eliminate the cell just beneath it because it's not going to be able to sum to 11. This cell with a 3 is in a column clue of a 10, so now we know where it could have been 6 plus 4 and only in 2 cells. Now it always is in 3 cells, so it's got to come up at least to this cell. Looking across, the 7 needs to be at least 2 cells, so that takes it in. Looking above, the 11 has to be at least 2 cells, 6 plus 5, so we can mark that in. And actually the 7 will have to be 2 cells, so where we've got sort of 3 left here, knowing that there'll be a blackened cell between them, this will always be part of that clue. And again, we identified at the start that this 12 in this particular row will be 3 cells long, so we can mark some of these in. The main thing, though, that I'm seeing that's probably the tension is we still have this very big clue that we haven't tried to map into the grid, and a 12 will take as many as 3 cells. Sorry, at least 3 cells. It could take 4. These 2 then have to be part of this group, and whichever other one we take, it's not going to be able to have the 4 right near it, so the 4 has to be over here. And that now looks to be a key break-in for the puzzle because it now forces for this 10, this to come up, cancels this. In this whole column, we just have 5 or 6 left, and we need to get up to 6, so this will have to be exactly 6 with the 5 missing from the grid. And that's going to give us some quick progress. For instance, the 9 now is known for sure. This space will have to be 1 with 3. Can't take the 5 because there's already 2 down there. This 11 now is marked by 4 cells, and the only way to get to 11 in 4 cells is a minimal sum, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 5. So there's no 4 or 6 in that value. So this is the 5 going in there. We get a 1, 3, and 1, 2, 3 to finish out these clues. This column now can only be 4 or 5, so we'll mark those in, and that means this will be 1 or 2. Going in, and we said at the start that the 12 will always have to have a 4 in it, that the remaining thing will be 2 plus 6 or 3 plus 5 for the 8. So if this is a 6, we actually know right now that this is a 2, this is a 4. That's again recognizing there'll be a 3, 5 over here, and there's no 1 in this row. So removing the 1 from the row gives us this clearance. That will cancel here. There's only the spot for a 2 in this whole sum of 11, which puts a 1 down here. The 7 and 11 probably are now still constrained. So this is 1 or 3 we just marked in. And that means that the sum to get to 11 will need to take at least 3 cells. And that's because 6 plus 5 is the only way to do it in 2, and this isn't a 6 or 5. So that means that the 7 has to come above. That means it's going to take a 5 here. And where it's going to have to grow out from this, the 3 is already in the space, so this will have to be 5 and 1 and 2. And that means this 6 is going to come down and take a value. And so here we're going to get 3, 5, 3, 5, and we can mark these off, so this row is finished. This 8 is going to have to come down and take a value, and we don't yet know what's going on here. But one thing we can say is that a 3 is not with a 1 or 2 above is not a valid way to get a 7. 7 can be 1 plus 2 plus 4 in 3 cells, or it can be 3, 4, or it can be 5, 2, or 6, 1. So this 3 is not a good value for this clue, but the 5 is fine. 5 with 2 with 1. We'll finish this out. We mark this off. This is going to be a sum that gets us to 8. This 9 is going to have to come down and take at least one more cell. So we're making good progress here. This 6 down here can be 1 and 5 or 2 and 4 or 1, 2, 3, but these digits above remove all those values. The only thing I see left for it's a single 6. So this is a little bit of a quick look ahead, but something that if you get very good at looking at Japanese sums, you may get comfortable doing. Trying to see what else we can think about. This column now, which is mostly marked, is helpful for us because with 7 and 11 in it, that's a sum of 18. It's missing 3, and so the actual values left will be 6 plus 4 plus 1 to get to 11, and 3 won't be present in it. So this option doesn't have a 3. So this is how this has to go, and this is just using the sums to make the rest. This is 4, 6, 4, 6, but there's already a 4 over here, which means this is 6, this is 4 to get up to 7. This is going to be shaded. Now we have 3, 5, and 6 left in the space, and so this will be exactly a 6. This clue down here is going to have to grow up and take 1 more, maybe 2 more, but one thing we know for sure is we'll never take the cell now. Neither the 8 nor 9 can grow that large, so this is going to be a 4. That means this is part of the 9 sum, and it can't grow any larger, so we're going to have 2 and 3 left over in these spaces. 2, 3 is going to mean that this is 5 or 6. The 6 is over on the right, so this is 5 with 3 with 2. 8 is now fulfilled summing from above, so this looks good. We have a digit we've got to fill in to make this be a valid 6. It's now left with getting 9 from above, so it needs 1 and 2, and the 2 is already over here, so 1 above, 2 below. Get to a sum of 6, this is going to need to be in. This is now shaded. We now have a total sum of 6 still for this column, so we've got to put 1 in here. We need to get 6 for this row, so these are all good. And we're now left with one cell that's not in any of these clued spaces, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are seen by it, so that's got to be shaded off. And so we've gotten through this fun Japanese sums puzzle. It was really alternating between marking known unused or used cells and then starting to do some math constraints, and particularly the tracking of options on this right side and looking at a key early row like this 812, which doesn't have a 1 in it, and then identifying it's 2 plus 6 with 4, 3, 5 or 3 plus 5 with 2, 4, 6. Like that helped us make headway in this top part during those middle stages. So I hope you got a feel of how to track clues in Japanese sums puzzles. We've got some more challenges coming up in the next few days, and we'll see you again soon.